All right, so just wanted to say hello and welcome to our creative conversations on Wednesday, March 3rd. Today we are with Kathy Liao, who works for Mid-America Arts Alliance and is also a facilitator for the Artist Inc. programs. And then Kate VanSteenhuyse, who works for the Kansas Creative Arts Industry Commission, the KCAIC. And today we're going to be talking about some new partnership programming that the KCAIC, Mid-America Arts Alliance, the Arts Council of Johnson County, and the Office of Military and Veteran Affairs at Kansas State University is partnering in for artists who are military personnel or veterans. So we're super excited to talk about that today. But first, I want to get to know Kathy and Kate. So Kathy, do you want to start and tell us a little bit about yourself, your role in Mid-America Arts Alliance, and kind of just your background?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Allison, for inviting us to this conversation today. My name is Kathy Liao. I work at the Mid-America Arts Alliance under the Artist Services team, and my title is the Artist Inc. Program Specialist. So I kind of oversee all the Artist Inc. programming that's happening across the region. And just kind of on a bigger note, Mid-America Arts Alliance is a regional arts agency, and we service the 6 states in the Mid-America region, all the way from Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all the way down to Texas. It took me a little bit to remember all the states in the middle there. Yeah, so we are a regional service organizations, and the motto is more art for more people. I am also an artist myself. So I'm a visual artist. I do large scale wall drawing installations that kind of talk a little bit about my personal stories, my experience as an immigrant, and all of that is built into the work that I do, whether it's sculptural, whether it's painting, whether it's installations. And so I think part of being an Artist Inc. is I get to share some of my experiences, share what worked, what didn't work, and just build that in as part of the programming, as professional development, and get to connect with artists from all across the region.
Sounds like an awesome job. So thank you, Kathy, and thank you again for being here and talking with us. Kate, do you want to go ahead and share about yourself and your work with the KCAIC and your background as well?
Yeah, thanks. This is fun. It's a good break to a Wednesday to get to hang out with you all and talk about these ideas. So yes, my name is Kate VanSteenhuyse. I am in Wichita, and I am the Chief Programs Officer for KCAIC. And I also have a background in placemaking and artist-run spaces and kind of community development and community engagement through the arts, which is a big part of what I do here at KCAIC. We are the state arts agency, arts and cultural division of the Department of Commerce. And so all the programming we do is focused on building the arts and cultural ecosystem across Kansas. That includes professional development like Artist Inc., sort of creative sector workforce training and workforce development, and really just whatever we can do to strengthen the role that arts and culture play in terms of making Kansas, the most interesting and exciting place to live and place to be. So that's the work we do. I also am an artist, similar to Kathy. I make paintings and drawings that are primarily, I'm really interested in how our brains make sense of information and how we process information. So my paintings are just about prolonging the process that your brain goes through when you're trying to figure out what something is and make sense of it. So my work is really about being very present in the moment and kind of suspended in that process of what is this? What am I looking at? So that's the personal work I do. And then I really think of my work with KCAIC and in communities as kind of the public facing branch of my creative process. So yeah, it's a pleasure to get to do this work.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So Kathy, let's jump into what is Artist Inc. and why are we talking about it today?
Well, Artist Inc. is a professional development program, a program part of Minnetonka Arts Alliance. And I think Kate can definitely jump in and help me with this side of things too, since we both run Artist Inc. programmings, both here in Missouri, across the state, and in Kansas. But Artist Inc., the program itself brings together a cohort of the Artist Inc. Live program, the main program, the Cornerstone program, brings together a cohort of 25 artists through an 8-week seminar that shares the tenets of what makes an art practice sustainable. So that covers everything from goal setting, thinking about your career as a whole, to marketing and branding, to talk about the financial aspect of your art practice, to even like technology, how can you utilize and leverage technology within your practice? So we cover a wide range of that professional development side of things through the Artist Inc. programming. And we're here today because we're talking about a few different programming that also falls under Artist Inc. besides that Cornerstone program. We're talking about Artist Inc. Express, which is a weekend workshop that happens over a 3-day period that almost condenses like the gold nuggets of what Artist Inc. is within a 3-day weekend workshop. And the other arm of our program is called What Works, which is a much shorter 1.5-2-hour workshop that just covers like the foundation of what builds this Artist Inc. programming, kind of gives an introduction to what, for those who are interested or curious about the arts career or want to know how they can continue to build and create a sustainable career that they can tap into through that 1-hour workshop.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really like most about the Artist Inc. approach is that it, for anyone figuring out their creative career, it's a very individual process, and it's a very individual path. And so, some people go to school and study their art form. Some people are self-taught. Some people, there's not really a right or wrong way to form your career, but there are some benchmarks and items in a toolkit that can just help to strengthen and help you plan out that path and be ready when opportunities arise and have the right materials assembled. And so the Artist Inc. program is really about helping artists compile all of those components as it best suits them. And so it's about helping people see their path forward and kind of write their own roadmap for that path. So yeah, that's what I love about it, because it's really applicable to so many people at various parts of their career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that because Artist Inc. program is for artists from all disciplines, right? So it's not just for visual art. It's not siloed in terms of just for visual artists or for musicians. It is for artists across all disciplines. And on top of what Kate just said, a big component of Artist Inc. is to create community, right? I think a lot of us, like myself, being a visual artist, I feel sometimes isolated and just alone being in my studio. But part of this programming is to find a platform to bring all these artists together, to find that network, to find that supportive network where you can share resources and collaborate and find kind of the shared language of what Artist Inc. provide, kind of like what Kate said about, the toolkit, right? So I think that's something that's extremely valuable about these programming, whether it's the 8-week session or the weekend session. And for me, the secret sauce of Artist Inc. is the peer-to-peer learning. So we call the artists that's working with these artists facilitators, not instructors, because what we're doing is we're sharing experiences. We're not there to like lecture about what makes a successful art career, but we're there to tell you, yeah, in my career, in my experience applying for grant, this worked. And this is an example of my failure. This didn't work out. So let's share and talk about experiences. And then it's through these group of artists coming together, sharing collective knowledge that all of us can grow and can learn something from all of us.
Yeah, and now with this virtual format, we are excited to be able to offer all of this programming virtually so that it can be offered statewide, which is such a huge benefit. And so many more people can engage and be a part of it. And so we're really excited about that. It's like, one of the silver linings of this weird year that we've all been living through.
Oh, yeah. Kathy, I'm glad you said that about the facilitators. That was my next question. But just to kind of piggyback and back that up, I completely agree. Like peer-to-peer learning was, well, okay. So I was as Kathy knows, I was a fellow in the 2019, I think it was Fall Artist Inc. So I went through the process and got to meet a lot of people. So that was really great. And I really, really appreciated that peer-to-peer learning. And like you said, it's not, lecturing down to other people. It's sharing the experiences, and it's things that they've gone through. And, yes, they've, what am I trying to say? Yeah, stuff that worked, stuff that didn't work, and just kind of helping other artists learn the ropes a little bit. So I'm glad you said that. So let's talk about, I guess, the partnership aspect of what we're going to be doing moving forward for Artist Inc. for military and veterans. Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about that a little bit?
I'll just say that, we, especially now that these programs are able to be offered virtually. And I want to just take a sec and just, hats off to the Artist Inc. team and the Artist Services team, because I think, in my opinion, you all at Mid-America were some of the first to really just like, okay, the world is changing. We're going to completely revamp our programs and totally pivot and make it work. And so I want to say I have been really impressed with how you all handled that over these past few months. And now we have all these new amazing resources. And so KCAIC has been thinking about what we can do to reach new audiences, new populations that are probably in need of this information, and definitely would benefit from being connected to this community. And so we just started to think about, like, okay, what about veterans, the special kind of challenges or difficulties that veterans or people who are preparing to transition from active military service into the civilian population, just what are some of those challenges? And so we started talking with Kathy and the rest of the team to say, like, maybe we could kind of target a program for this population. And well, I'll let Kathy talk. I don't want to get too far down the.
Yeah, so we sort of, myself and Kate and Peter Hasso, Lieutenant Colonel Art de Groot, I think I pronounced his name correctly, at the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs, and also Sarah at Arts Joco. We started talking about this a couple months ago, and just trying to figure out, like, what type of programming that could add value to the military and veteran population. And one of the things that Art mentioned was, in Kansas, I think there are programming out there that supports that transition of military personnel back to civilian life, and trying to kind of give them pathways to think about, like, whether it's going into manufacturing or going into business management, right? There's programming that kind of supports or assists with that transition. But what is that lacking? Like, there is a lack, there's a niche for a programming that can fill, in terms of giving military personnel and veterans and family caregivers some sort of exposure to what a creative career could look like, right? I don't think there is a programming there that fills that niche, and I think that's kind of where we're hoping to bring this program to. So
Sorry.
Go ahead.
But I think there's disconnect, or I think sometimes people who aren't directly involved with the creative community and with creative careers don't really fully understand all the options of what a creative career means in terms of, design community, like a print design, web design, theater community, film and TV, writing, poetry, visual arts, music. There's so many different avenues and paths forward. And I think a lot of times, unless you are already plugged into some sort of network or some sort of, one of those avenues, it just kind of seems like, yeah, I don't even know where to begin. So we thought that this partnership and this programming might just help to show what those options are.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely introduction to it, right? So we have two programmings that we have planned. One is the What Works workshop, which, like I mentioned before, it's that 1.5 hour workshop that shares the 12 tenets, the foundation of what Artist Inc. programming is built on. But it also gives, like, once you go through that workshop, it does give you actionable items that you can apply to your practice or start thinking about going into the creative field. The second one is Artist Express, which is a lot more hands-on, a lot more participatory, and it does walk you through, like, thinking about writing an artist statement, or thinking about a brand statement, or even thinking about creating a network, a strategy to connect with people within the industry. So I think it's a starting point. It's definitely not like once you go through this, it's a silver bullet and everything will be done, but it does help people start to chart out a possible path into this industry. And Kate was mentioning earlier too, just thinking about the similarity between, like, what we all experience as artists, and I think relating to military personnel coming back into civilian life, just trying to figure out what your identity is, right? What is your identity, and what is, like, professionally too. And so hopefully this program, again, gives them a pathway to kind of start thinking and navigating through that thought process to start charting a path.
Yeah. And one thing that we're working on is to connect with different veteran services and different programs so that we can also connect these participants with specific opportunities and resources that are available to them through, whether it's through the Veterans and Military Affairs, or through the Department of Commerce, or through the state, or through the federal programs. Like, there are a lot of options. And so we just want to sort of position those options along with the creative sector, creative career options.
Yeah. So I noticed over the last over the last year, really, because it's been a year since since COVID happened, which is insane. Artist Inc. has had a lot of pop-up workshops, the What Works workshops, and the Artist Inc. Express all over Kansas, and you said the other states as well. I noticed that they were being offered for free, which I think is really great. And so I think it's worth mentioning that this Military Artist Inc. program is free for veterans and military who are transitioning into civilian life. Kathy, I was just curious if you wanted to talk a little bit to that, and kind of why Mid-America Arts Alliance decided to go that route.
So the programming, you're right. So we have ran 4 workshops in Kansas since last October all the way through January. And we're also currently working with the Arkansas Arts Council and Nebraska Arts Council to roll out more Artist Inc. Express across the entire state. Like Kate mentioned earlier, with all the different Artist Inc. programming, many of them, especially with the live program, it is very competitive, and usually it is hosted with an organization within kind of a metropolitan area. So I think the reach, the audience, like who can access that resource, in some ways is limited. And during this pandemic, we're really thinking about, like, how can we make this programming, this resource, a lot more accessible to people who may be, who may not live within a radius next to a city, or or more in rural areas. And yeah, I think it made a huge difference just thinking about how can we rethink about this program in this virtual way. As for the free aspect, we really have to thank Kansas Creative Art Industry Commissions and all the state agencies that's chipped in to make these programs free for all. And of course, it is in the operations side of things, like paying administrators and the admin side of things, it is not free, but it is supported generously by Kansas City Creative Arts Industry Commission and all the other state art agencies that brought these programs to these artists across the state. And one last thing I want to mention is that during this pandemic, like I mentioned before, people are kind of isolated, they're quarantined in their respective homes and their studios, and artists are craving these resources. They're craving these connections. And I know sometimes it can feel intimidating to be on Zoom for a long time, but it's so incredible to have this platform to be able to connect with other artists who are experiencing similar things. You get to talk about what's happening in your life and also thinking about charting a path forward. I think it's really significant during this time too. So yeah, it's incredible to have this resource to be available and free for people who need it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Since we can't really drop links right now, I will go, or you can go back, Kathy. We can drop links in the comments after we're finished. But when are the dates for the What Works workshop and the Artist Ink Express, and when can people start registering for that?
Mm-hmm. So the What Works workshop is on Monday, April 5th. It starts at 5:30 and runs until 7. The registration is now open. It's you can register through Eventbrite, and I'll drop that link in a little bit here. And What Works, anyone can register. Artists of all disciplines, please do. Or if you're interested or curious about that career path, please do register and check it out. We also do recommend that for those artists who are interested in signing for Artist Ink Express workshop, the weekend workshop, sign up for What Works. So just to find out a little more about the Artist Ink programming in general. The Artist Ink Express workshop is happening in May. The dates are Friday through Sunday, May 21st through 23rd. It is a weekend workshop, but it's not the full weekend. So it's Friday, 9 to 5 in the evening, Saturday, 10 to 1, and Sunday, 10 to 1. So it's a 3-day workshop, 3 sessions. The registration is also on Eventbrite. So I'll include that link later on Facebook so you guys can check it out. One thing to note with that is it's limited seating. So there's only 20 seats. So register soon before it fills up.
Yes.
Which will.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess we kind of already touched on it, but my last question, I get Kate or Kathy. Kate, you can take this one since you haven't talked very much. I wanted to make sure you're included, but why do you think it's important to have programs and resources like this for artists in general, not just veterans or any kind of artists? Can you talk to about that?
I can definitely talk to that. So there's so many answers to that. But I guess I'll start just with that. Artists and creative practitioners are entrepreneurs and are a humongous part of our economy and of our culture and of our communities. And creative people really shape and often are the drivers behind community development, economic development, and so much of the creative work that artists are doing is so interwoven into our lives, and it's everywhere. So much so that I don't even know if we all see it, but every single thing, that every visual, whether it's a logo or a web page or everything is designed. And especially in a lot of ways, this has really been highlighted during the pandemic, because what are we all doing? We're watching TV a lot more than usual. Yeah. Or we're seeking out music that we love, or maybe creating visual arts that we love. And that level of creative expression is so linked to physical and mental health. Again, also, it's such a part of our culture, and it's a huge economy. It's a huge part of community identity. So the purpose behind programming like Artist Inc. is that we have to support and do whatever we can to build capacity with the people who are creating all this content, right? That we all agree makes our lives fuller, makes our communities more prosperous. There are humans behind the soundtrack to that Netflix show. There are writers, there are people making all of this work that I think we all depend on. And we need to make sure that those people have the resources and the support that they need to make the world a better place, bottom line. So yeah, that's why it's so important.
Yeah. Allison, I'm going to add to that a little bit too. One thing I do want to know about Artist Inc. is it's created by artists and it's for artists, right? And I think like really tying into what Kate is saying is that this program is there to support artists. Right? We talk about arts advocacy, thinking about arts in general, but we're really coming down to the grassroots. We're supporting artists as individuals, as creators, as, we're valuing what they're doing and then supporting them, giving them the tools and resources to do so, and creating that community, allowing them to tap into the resource across the board, whether it's regionally or nationally. So yeah. Thank you for
artists are entrepreneurs and small business owners and are vital to what we're all doing. And so, yeah, it's really important. I firmly believe that when artists are thriving, communities are thriving. And yeah, this is a great program to help people figure out what that means for them.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thanks for asking. That's like my favorite question to answer.
I think you guys would have good answers. So yeah, I think that's so important to, like you said, if artists aren't thriving, then, if artists are thriving, then the community is thriving, really, because everything is tied back to art, which is so awesome. And I love that Artist Inc. is such a great platform for helping artists find their groove. Is there anything else that either of you want to add that I missed, or you want to expand on? Anything else at all?
You check my cheat sheet here. I just wanted to reiterate that we are really excited to be working with the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs and with the Artist Services team, and we're just really excited to see where this goes. So, and yeah, thanks again, Allison, for the opportunity to talk and share with everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for joining me today. Kathy, is there anything that you want to say before we close out? No pressure.
I don't think so. I just want to emphasize that I think part of this program is, as artists, a lot of times we're working away in our studio, but this program is really affirming in terms of like allowing us as artists to recognize that we are valuable. We are a contributor to the economy, to the society, right? So you're not just alone, like making selfish work. Your work, what you do, is valuable. And I feel like a huge part of this program does affirm that and also help finding a viable, path forward to create a sustainable career.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you both so much again for joining me today. And let's see, I don't think we have any questions in the chat. So with that, I will let you guys get back to your afternoon. Kathy, if you want to drop those links in the comments after, that would be great. And then we will post this on YouTube for other people to see later on. So thank you guys again so much. And we will see you guys later.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.